All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Quant Gaming. This is going to be the Raid Shadow Legends basic breakdown series, trying to go over this game and simplifying all of the incredible content that's here in a logical, organized manner. You can certainly get this from playing the game. And you'll figure it out, but I just wanted to take the experience I have as a relatively new player and help provide that insight right up front for those who are starting the game. So this is the character breakdown series. This is going to be the second of two videos. In the first video, we talked about the organization of the characters and how to obtain characters. And this is going to be a little bit more of an in-depth analysis of how characters are developed. So I'm going to go to the character index on the bottom of the screen between the clan and champions buttons and click on this. Just like in the last video, I'll click on Banner Lords, and within the Banner Lords, I will click on a character I have in the epics called Stag Knight. What I want to show here, just generally speaking, is every screen for every character set up, I can scroll right and look at the next character, scroll left, or keep scrolling right, and there will be basic information. So it's all set up the same, really, really nicely organized in my opinion. But getting back to Stag Knight, a couple of things I want to point out. Now this character, at the very top of the screen, it says Stag Knight, level 60, and there's 6 purple stars. To the left of Stag Knight is a green lightning bolt. I want to talk about what the affinities are, and this happens to be the affinity for spirit. So regardless of whichever faction a character happens to be in, again, the faction are the greater, highest organization of each individual champion's tribe, you're going to see that there's going to be one of 4 affinities that each character can have in a faction. And on this greater screen, I pulled out a Stag Knight because you can see that on the bottom left-hand corner of all these portraits, there's either a blue, a red, a green, or a purple. Well, those are the 4 factions. Now, going back to Stag Knight, I said that was a spirit faction. There's also a purple void faction with a purple triangle. There's going to be a red skull, and that is going to be a force faction. And finally, there is going to be a blue wavy circle, and that is going to be the magic faction. So each character in every faction will have that as their core makeup. Now, what does that mean? Well, in order to describe that, I will essentially show what it means by clicking on a campaign battle. All right. So in the center of the screen on the very upper, you kind of see a triangle with those 4 shapes and symbols. I'm kind of circling it right now. There's the blue magic, the green spirit, the red force, and in the middle is a purple triangle. What this means is that there's arrows kind of going in a clockwise direction in this triangle. This means that magic champions have an advantage over spirit champions. Spirit champions have an advantage over force champions, and force champions have an advantage over magic champions. That means when you're in battle and your force champion will be battling a magic champion, they will have, I believe, a greater multiplier and the ability to inflict damage. Now, vice versa, if the magic is attacking a force, they receive a reduction in the efficacy of the attack or debuff landing on that champion. And so you always, not always, as a new player, this probably isn't as important, but as you progress through the game, you'll see that some clan bosses, some dungeons, they are of a particular affinity, and you want to bring in troops that are either of the same affinity or the affinity that trumps that affinity and provides greater damage to help get through those stages. Now, in the center is the void. That essentially means that they don't have an inherent advantage over any particular affinity, nor do they have a disadvantage. So they are going to be your troops that in any situation are going to be able to provide efficiency across battling. And because of that, the Void Champions are considered the most valuable in the game. And there is a shard, a purple shard, called is it a void shard? I do believe it's a void shard. It would make sense, wouldn't it? Yep, a void shard, which only summons void characters. This is the only way you can receive void characters unless you receive them through an event or a tournament or a battle pass, which is less common. So the void shards themselves are incredibly valuable in this game. And as you can see right now, there's a 2-time chance to get higher ranked champions. That would be epic or legendary. Let me show you what that means on the information button. On the void shard row, there is a 16% chance per void shard to get an epic and a 1% chance to get a legendary. Normally these are 8% and 0.5%. So they do this every now and then. My understanding is every couple months, each type of shard will increase that likelihood that you will receive an epic or a legendary. And it just so happens that right now is the void. So I'll be pulling my 22 void shards within the next 9 hours, so we can see if I can get any of those valuable void epics and legendaries. That's the goal, at least. All right, so those are the affinities of characters, and specifically focusing on how to acquire voids through those shards. Just jumping back to the ancient, mystery, and sacred, you're going to be able to pull the magic, spirit, and force champions with those shards at any given time. All right, so with the affinity set discussed, let's talk about the character types. Going back to the index, clicking on the banner lords, going to Stagnite. You'll see kind of in the upper middle, there is a purple box that says epic. This tells you the rarity or the level of champion that it is. And I don't know if I'm using the proper terms here. It is, yeah, it's going to be called the rarity. So there's legendary, epics, rares, uncommon, and common. So legendaries are the least likely to be pulled, and the commons are the most common. So epics are rather unlikely to pull. So when you get them, you're actually quite pleased to have them. Underneath that epic or purple bar is something called support. Now there's 4 different character types. There's support, attack, defense, and HP. So support are generally going to be characters that provide an ability to buff or debuff, either buff your team, make them stronger on their attacks, or debuff the enemy team to make their attacks weaker. Getting into an attack type champion, they're generally going to be the ones that hit hard and take advantage of all of these buffs that they have on them. A HP champion is one that generally has a lot of HP and provides, I'm not exactly sure what they do. Ally protection, that means that they use their HP to help assist the damage. Ally protection is a particular buff in which this champion will link to another champion or all the champions, and they will take some of the damage dealt to a particular champion because they have high HP. I don't know if that's always the case, but they use their HP to help either themselves or your allies in various battles. And finally, there's going to be, I'm going to try to scroll to this and find a defensive champion. Defensive champion generally provides an ability for your team to become more defensively oriented in the battle. So they're going to cast some sort of buff on your end to make your team resist or take on less damage at any given time. So there's all these different types of characters that when you build your team, there's all these synergies that work together. You kind of maybe want to have a combination of attacks and supports and defense and hit points depending on the type of battle that you're going into. All right, so then there's stats on the bottom right-hand side. There's going to be the hit points, the attack, the defense, the speed, the critical rate, the critical damage, the resistance, and the accuracy. I went over this in the past video, so I'm not going to go over in too much detail, but I do want to discuss that within various characters, I'll click on their skills. There's 1 to 4 skills per character, and you can see that there's a description that, this attacks 1 enemy, 20% chance of placing fees, and the damage is based on attack and defense. So that means that you want to build up that character's attack and defense so that when they hit, their damage scales or is dependent upon the greater amount of attack and defense. Similarly, there's probably going to be characters that, that's defense and attack as well. This character has just attack, so you build up that attack. And there's some characters that scale off of, I think, hit points. So it depends. You have to read that character's description to be able to build them up to be as efficient as possible. So that will conclude the character breakdowns. I just wanted to give a basic understanding of all these characters. Again, there's 4 affinities. There's 4 character types, and you want to build those character types by looking at their attacks and their ability, what their attacks scale off of, to make them as efficient as possible. All right, thanks so much for watching. I'm going to click, please click to subscribe, click that like button, as it's going to bring more basic information about this game as I navigate it through it. And I am going to ask and mention that there is a referral program in the game where if you join this game and reach these levels, both of us will receive these very valuable resources, and I would very much appreciate and like to have others get involved in this game and be rewarded for their progress, us together. All right, I'll see you in the next video.